talk about the analysis of the food delivery industry of India. So let's start with the introduction. How the world eats is changing dramatically, and the advent of appealing and user friendly apps in tech enabled driver networks, coupled with changing consumer expectations, has unlocked ready to eat food delivery as a major category. Lockdowns, physical distancing requirements early on in the pandemic gave the category an enormous boost, with delivery becoming a lifeline for the hurting restaurant industry. Online food delivery helps consumers order and receive the desired food products at the doorstep with minimum hassle. This involves the browsing of website or application, selecting from a variety of cuisines available from the menus, and making payments through different online and offline methods. The applications can also update the users about the expected delivery time for food preparation and delivery. Now, moving on to the corporate strategy for the two chosen companies. The first company that we have chosen is Zomato. Zomato is a pioneer in this industry. Zomato has proved that it is phenomenal as a foodie platform, providing a convenient way to review restaurants and give feedback. I would like to tell you about the famous tagline that it has: never have a bad meal. The Zomato platform can give you insightful analytics for restaurants to keep them informed about growing. It was founded by Dipender Goyal and Pankaj Chadha in 2008. It is headquartered in Gurgaon and has more than 5,000 employees, and now is listed in over 24 different countries. Now, talking about Zomato's corporate strategy, the company's development over the last year has improved its position in tier 2, 3, and 4 areas, but it has also drawn a long running spat with eateries over its discount happy tactics. We still don't know how much of the impact this will have on Zomato as a business, but it's clear by its diversifying business strategy, Zomato has created a lot of revenue streams. Now, coming to the revenue streams of Zomato, we have listing of platforms and restaurant directories. We have food delivery. We have programs for subscription, which were Zomato Gold, which was further upgraded to Zomato Pro and Pro Plus. Both of them have been shut down now, and now Zomato is starting up new loyalty programs. Then we have live events like Zomaland, which is India's biggest food festival. Then we have white label access and Zomato kitchens. Now, talking about Zomato's collaboration strategy. In addition to helping thousands of people who are a part of the delivery network by setting up a fund to cover their income, Zomato is actively collaborating with the government, such as providing masks to the delivery boys when the pandemic was at its peak. Zomato routinely posts unskippable, sharp, and brief video advertisements on YouTube with subtle call to action.
Swiggy was established in the year 2014 by Nandan Reddy and Sriharsha Majety. It is an online food requesting and conveying administration and has its administrative center in Bengaluru, Karnataka. It works in more than 25 urban communities of India, and they incorporate urban communities like Bangalore, Chandigarh, Chennai, Indore, Hyderabad, etc. Presently, the all-out valuation in the market for Swiggy is $1.3 billion. Swiggy is claimed by Bundle Advancements Private Limited and expects to associate eateries with the foodies around the city. Making foods available to clients is the fundamental methodology of Swiggy. So, what is Swiggy's corporate strategy? Due to the way Swiggy functions as a dual partnership model, restaurants who use their own Swiggy apps to place orders stand to gain more business. Given this, we may argue that Swiggy's business idea is to offer things that are hyper-local. It has a strategy for varied delivery. In order to capture a larger share of India's delivery market, it aims to supply not only meals but also establish a delivery system for groceries, gift shops, and flower shops. So, what is the competitive advantage of Swiggy's marketing strategy? Swiggy means to control the whole worth of chain of clients' experience, and this procedure has helped it triumph in the marketplace. Swiggy has done numerous things right, and one of them is its brilliant spotlight on the coordination of the activity. Swiggy, from the earliest starting point, realized that to break the conveyance market, to assemble a broad organization for coordination. So Swiggy has constructed a sound and feasible plan of action. So what is Swiggy's business strategy? Swiggy was a late participant in the online food conveyance and requesting space in 2014. It has now become a billion-dollar organization, and now Zomato is playing makeup for the lost time. Swiggy has its own developing armada of conveyance accomplices, and the armada is developing with, as of now, 1.25 lakh dynamic accomplices. This permitted Swiggy to convey its guarantee to convey food within 30 minutes to the client with merely a tap. Swiggy has, as of late, dispatched the Swiggy Access Kitchen, which is prepared to possess kitchen, which is offered to all its accomplices with free access to every necessary pleasantry. Swiggy intends to give help to eatery proprietors to enhance their kitchen regarding request, anticipating, stock arranging, request alters, and so forth. Innovative methodologies like this are significant purpose of separation for Swiggy.
I'm Nidhi Kiran, and let's start with the Porter's 5 forces. The strategy building for any organization starts with an interpretation of Porter's 5 force model. These forces include the threat of new entrants, the threat of substitution, bargaining power of customers, bargaining power of suppliers, and the competition rivalry. Despite having potential, the carving strategy remains tricky due to the presence of a high number of competitors. Now let's look at each of them one by one. This figure here gives an overview about the Porter's 5 forces. So let's discuss each of them in depth. First one is the threat of new entrant. This factor varies low to high depending on the category of product. Higher infrastructure cost, it becomes low. Where there is a lower cost of operation, it becomes high, and thus helping the other competitor to enter into the market easily. Since Swiggy and Zomato, being the major player in the industry with a combined market share of 70 to 80%, the threat of a new entrant is low. Swiggy was leading the market with the highest number of users. But the acquisition of Uber Eats by Zomato is giving tough competition to Swiggy. Ola with Food Panda has slowed down on investments as compared to Swiggy and Zomato. Now the question is, how can we tackle with this? So the strategy to tackle with this is, as the threat of new entrant is low for existing players, organizations operating in this segment can opt for expansion strategy for increasing the market share by penetrating deeper into Indian markets. Mostly these apps are currently in tier 1 or tier 2 cities, so they can enter into the tier 3, 4 or 5 cities. The plan needs to increase partnering with maximum food restaurants and cafes. This will help them in covering a more larger segment of population. Next one is threat of substitution. This factor becomes high due to the nature of the product. Having a different product with distinguishing properties can reduce the level of substitution. As the number of options are parallelly available, the user can shift from one app to another easily. They can compare the prices, they can compare the products, how they are offered, what are the delivery time, and how the quality of their services are. Based on that, they can choose from which app they want to order their food. Suppose a user is searching for biryani. Then he or she can decide by portion size, price, preferences, brands by comparing both platforms side by side. Hence, swapping between apps become a major part of substitution. Now, how to deal with this? The threat of substitution is inversely proportional to the brand loyalty and negatively affects the brand equity building. In such a scenario, the ranking of the brand comes along with the cash burns. Higher cash burns bring higher top-line revenue. However, profitability remains under pressure. The following are the vital attributes of building strategy: designing a product or service with unique features, loyalty programs, awareness programs, and customer intimacy in which we can emotionally connect with the customers.
Ms. Arushi Seth, and I'll be continuing the Porter's 5 force analysis. I'll start with bargaining power of customer. So this particular factor varies from medium to high range as there are a number of options available to the buyer. So the bargaining power of the customer increases. As we know, whenever we order something online, we compare the prices on both Swiggy and Zomato and check where the offer is available, where the discount is greater, and place only from that particular app. So as the level of substitution threat in online food business is more due to the availability of similar products, the bargaining power of the customer increases. So most of the times consumers leave once the offer gets over. So This also shows that how much bargaining power the customer holds. So the strategy to tackle this particular threat is that they could probably issue memberships like Zomato already does, wherein the delivery charges are free if they are a member of Zomato. And secondly, on Swiggy as well, there is memberships wherein you can avail discounts by going for dining options. And similarly for Zomato as well, they give heavy discounts to their members. Moving on to the next. Bargaining power of supplier. This factor varies between the medium to high range. So mostly in raw materials, suppliers have the upper hand. To ensure the uninterrupted supply to planned production, annual contracts becomes critical. So in the online food delivery business, suppliers are food kitchens, restaurant, cafes, bakeries, food joints, etc. So standardization is the key norm by enrolling the suppliers. The customer expects the same taste of the particular food product irrespective of the geography. So if we see whenever we go to McDonald's, the aloo tikki tastes the same even if you go anywhere around in India. So it is easier to obtain raw materials in tier 1 cities, but in other cities it might get difficult. So the strategies they can use to tackle this problem is that define the product portfolio to include multiple suppliers so that they do not rely on only a few suppliers, and allotting at least 2 suppliers to avoid dependency and single point of failure. Also, annual contracts with the supplier with fixed price can help reduce and manage the production cost. And timely review of the price is important to minimize errors in unusual price hike and supply. Moving on to the next factor. Competitive rivalry. The intensity of competitive rivalry is more. The growing potential of Indian market attracts many domestic and international players in each of the food categories. E-commerce business is largely growing in India, and online food delivery in particular has seen a growth of more than 100% in the past 3 years. So in order to grab a larger part of the market share, Zomato acquired Uber Eats, and the revenue in their fiscal year 2019 was 206 million USD. Though their marketing expenses was 500 million USD, they also said that we are losing rupees 25 for every delivery. So as we know that Zomato and Swiggy are loss-making businesses, but they have seen a growth of more than 100% in the past 3 years. All this is for gaining market share over its major competitor. So they have a lot of marketing expenses which they are bearing, and in fact they are going in losses for this competitive rivalry in particular. So the strategy to tackle this is understanding the gaps in customer experience and bridging them, building a unique category of offering to present differentiation. Innovation is the key. Innovative products tend to attract more and more buyers, improving customer service and always remembering that the customer is right.
My name is Vaishali Sitar, and I'll be talking about the pestle analysis of the food delivery industry. So talking about the political aspect, the government's focus on improving the ease of doing business in the country encourages more foreign direct investment in this industry, and the government is also emphasizing skill development among the youth, which will eventually help many people with skills and knowledge. Governments across the world have regulatory frameworks for every aspect of the food industry. This includes the hygiene maintenance of commercial kitchens, the standards for transporting and storing food products, and even the food business's labor force requirements. This shows that the food industry is one of the most tightly regulated industries of all. Talking about the economic aspect, the industry is initiating cashless transactions aimed at creating jobs in different countries. 1/10 of the industry attracts several investments and funding from the government and foreign investment, all of which is good for the economy. Talking about the socio-cultural aspect, the rising income levels and changing lifestyle patterns of the Indian working population are advantageous to the food delivery industry because many young people and new age working couples like to eat out. There is a clear relationship between the food we consume and our health, and the consumers are conscious of their health and food more than ever before. Talking about technology, using modern technology in designing a beautiful UI that makes it easier for users to browse in a massive part of the industry is a massive part of the industry. Technology also makes companies a good business model that keeps the customers information. We see various types of automation in the food industry these days. And talking about environment, achieving a
achieving sustainability is dependent on how the industry addresses the ecological requirements of this art. Being a service industry, there is no significant environmental impacts on the food delivery industry. Talking about the legal aspects, the industry is required by Indian law to comply with all the regulations that control technology firms in the country. As discussed in the political section of the analysis, the food industry has high safety standards, and there are regulations of rules in every country in the world on how food should be prepared, transported, and stored, including directions, what temperatures various food types can reach, and how they should be cleaned, and so on.
Thanks, Sachin. Now let's look onto the competitor analysis of Swiggy and Zomato. Looking onto the financials, the aggressive discounting offered by Swiggy has been both a blessing as well as a curse for its business. Zomato's income during fiscal year 2022 has been around 4,600 crore compared to Swiggy's 5,700 crores. However, Zomato's losses over the same time period have been thrice of Swiggy's losses during fiscal year 2022. Swiggy suffered losses of around 3,600 crores compared to Zomato's around 1,200 crores. This graphical representation depicts the revenue earned by Swiggy and Zomato. We can see that Swiggy has made a growth of around 124% compared to the growth of 121% achieved by Zomato. This graphical representation shows the losses made by Zomato and Swiggy. We can see that the losses made by Swiggy are thrice as much made by Zomato during fiscal year 2022. Now looking at the number of restaurant partners, Zomato wins on this front over Swiggy. Swiggy has only around 1,28,000 restaurant partners as per February 2022 compared to around 3,90,000 restaurant partners achieved by Zomato. The monthly user active on Swiggy have been 20 million, whereas on Zomato it has been 32 million as per the data collected in February 2022. Now looking at the user experience offered by both Swiggy and Zomato. According to the studies, quite a few users have stated that the more of a reason to use Swiggy is because of the UI structure. Whether it is the viewability of the content, accessibility of search fields and restaurants, how much more time consuming it is, Swiggy is considered better as compared to Zomato. Even on the application, Zomato shows more prominence to follow their restaurant reviews, ratings, or to order, whereas on this contrary, Swiggy has their application centered around eco-friendly delivery of groceries and medicines. These are the services offered by Zomato and Swiggy. Zomato deals into food delivery, dining, advertisement, hyperpure, and Blinkit, whereas Swiggy works into food delivery, Instamart, Swiggy Genie, and Dineout. This is the revenue breakdown for Zomato and Swiggy. Zomato is expanding most of their revenues on food ordering and delivery, and another 13% on Hyperpure. Looking at Swiggy, around 60% of the revenue is being earned from food ordering and delivery, and around 36% is achieved from grocery and FMCG delivery, followed by the others. This is the expenses incurred by Zomato and Swiggy. Zomato is predominantly spending its earnings on employee benefits, followed by advertisement and sales promotion and delivery and related charges. Now looking into Swiggy's expenses, most of its chunk is going into the outsourcing of support cost, followed by cost of materials, advertisement, and employee expenses. These are the list of the top shareholders of both Zomato and Swiggy. We can also have a look at what currently the founders have equity into their respective organizations. We can see Deepinder Goyal has a share of around 4.3% compared with around 7.5% of the founders of Swiggy. This is the user overlap as compared to the quarter 4 of 2019 with the quarter 1 of 2021.